All right, welcome everyone. So let's just jump right in. Picture this, it's May 1940, you're a French soldier on the front line, and all you can hear is this terrifying, screaming sound from the sky.
The Jericho trumpet. The siren on the Stuka dive bombers. It was pure psychological warfare.
Exactly. And then through the smoke, you see them, tanks. Just endless columns of German panzers moving faster than anyone thought possible.
And in 6 weeks, it's over. France, which had this massive army considered the best in Europe, just collapses. A feat Germany couldn't manage in 4 years of grinding trench warfare in World War I.
Right. And the term everyone uses for this is, of course, Blitzkrieg, lightning war.
Which makes it sound like this, perfectly designed super weapon that the Germans just unleashed.
But that's the myth, isn't it? Our
Yeah.
goal here is to really dismantle that idea. We're going to show how Blitzkrieg wasn't some pre-planned doctrine, but more of an improvised evolution of old tactics combined with new technology.
And this is a really fascinating part. We're going to trace how that German idea didn't die in a Berlin bunker in 1945. It was actually studied, adopted, and you could argue perfected by the United States military decades later.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
But first, we have to go back to its origins. It wasn't really a new invention, was it?
Not at all. I mean, it was really a throwback to older Prussian ideas, the Bewegungskrieg, the war of movement. The whole goal was to avoid getting bogged down in a war of attrition like World War I, which they knew Germany couldn't win.
They were trying to solve the problem of the trenches.
Precisely. And they looked back at their own elite stormtrooper tactics from 1918, which were all about infiltration, speed, and bypassing strong points.
And at the center of this new way of thinking is one man, right? Heinz Guderian.
Guderian. He's a difficult character. Brash, argumentative, always fighting with his superiors. Not a guy you'd want to have a quiet dinner with.
But he had a crucial insight, and it came from his background, which wasn't in tanks.
That's the key. He was a signals officer in World War I, a communications guy. He understood the flow of information.
So he sees these new technologies, the tank and the airplane, and he doesn't just see them as weapons.
No, he sees them as nodes in a network. I mean, you have the three pillars, right? The panzer, the tank, concentrated in its own divisions, not sprinkled out to help infantry like the French did.
Then you have the airplane, the Luftwaffe, specifically the Stuka, which acted as sort of flying artillery, pinpoint accurate.
But the third piece, the one everyone overlooks, is the secret weapon. It's the radio.
The radio, it sounds so simple.
It changes everything. If you are enjoying this video, please watch it until the end. This greatly helps the channel and encourages us to continue our work.
Right. So tell me about the radio's impact. How different was the German approach?
It was night and day. The French commander, Gamelin, he famously refused to use a radio in his headquarters. He thought it was insecure. He used landline telephones and motorcycle couriers.
You're kidding. So his information was hours old by the time he got it?
At best. Meanwhile, Guderian fought and screamed until he got his way. A radio in every single tank, not just the commanders.
So every tank commander can hear the orders and talk to each other instantly.
Yes. It creates a decision cycle that is just exponentially faster than the enemy's. A German platoon leader sees a weak spot. He doesn't have to send up a flare or wait for a runner. He just gets on the radio and says, "Follow me." And 5 tanks pivot on a dime.
They're a networked organism, while the French are a collection of individuals trying to use signal flags.
It's an incredible advantage. And it enables this command philosophy the Germans had called Auftragstaktik.
Mission-type tactic.
Exactly. The generals don't micromanage. They give a goal. Take that bridge by nightfall. They don't care how you do it. The junior officer on the ground has the freedom to seize any opportunity he sees.
Which brings us to the ultimate case study, the invasion of France in 1940.
Case yellow. The Allies were expecting them to come through Belgium, a repeat of the Schlieffen Plan. They put their best forces there.
But the Germans didn't do that.
No, they went for the Schwerpunkt, the focal point. And they aimed their armored spearhead, their panzer divisions, at a single, supposedly weak spot,
The Ardennes Forest.
which the Allies thought was completely impassable for tanks. Too hilly, too many trees, they barely defended it.
So the Germans just punch right through this weak spot.
They punched through, crossed the Meuse River at Sedan, and here's the critical part. They don't stop to fight the French forces on their flanks, they just keep driving west.
And this is where Guderian's personality comes into play, right? He was getting orders to stop.
Oh yeah. His superiors were terrified. They're looking at the map and seeing this long, thin line of panzers with completely open flanks. They're screaming at him to halt, consolidate, wait for the slow-moving infantry to catch up.
But he knew that stopping was death.
He knew speed was his only protection, so he basically ignored orders. At one point, he calls his advance a reconnaissance in force just to give himself cover while he moves the entire Panzer Corps. He understood the psychological state of the French command.
Which was
Total paralysis. They were getting reports of German tanks, but the reports were always hours late. By the time they decided to move a unit to counterattack, the Germans were already 50 miles past that spot. Their whole system of command and control just melted.
the brain was severed from the body.
And it creates the Kesselschlacht, the cauldron battle. Guderian's panzers reached the English Channel, cutting the best Allied armies in half and trapping them against the sea at Dunkirk.
A stunning victory. And of course, Hitler loves to take credit for it, as if he invented the whole thing.
Of course. But many historians now argue there never was an official written-down Blitzkrieg doctrine before the war. It was something that was improvised by commanders like Guderian and Rommel, and because it worked so well, it got a name after the fact.
But they started to believe their own hype. They thought it was invincible.
And that's the fatal flaw. That hubris leads them to Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of Russia in 1941.
And at first, it looks like a repeat of France.
It does. I mean, the initial successes are staggering. Huge encirclements, millions of prisoners taken. But Russia isn't France. The distances are just mind-boggling.
And the logistics can't keep up.
That's the dirty secret of the Wehrmacht. We have this image of a fully mechanized army. The truth is, in 1941, the German army was still overwhelmingly horse-drawn.
Horses.
Hundreds of thousands of them. So you have the tanks racing ahead, burning fuel, and their supply columns are literally stuck in the mud 100 miles behind them, being pulled by animals.
So the spearhead breaks off from the shaft of the spear.
Perfectly put. The lightning war grinds to a halt and becomes a war of attrition. The one thing Germany could never win. And then Hitler makes it even worse with his stand-fast orders.
Right. He forbids any kind of tactical retreat.
He takes away the very mobility and flexibility that made the army successful in the first place. He turns his mobile units into static pillboxes. It's a disaster.
So fast forward, 1945. The war ends. The Wehrmacht is gone. But the idea is this whole concept of high-speed mobile warfare, they don't just vanish.
No, they get studied. And the #1 student is the United States Army.
Why them?
Because the moment WWII ends, they're looking across the plains of Europe at their new potential adversary, the Soviet Union. And the Soviets have a massive numerical advantage in tanks and soldiers.
So the U.S. has a problem. How do we fight outnumbered and win?
And who do you ask for advice on how to fight the Russians?
You ask the Germans, who just spent 4 years doing it.
Exactly. The U.S. Army Historical Division hires hundreds of former German generals and staff officers to write reports, over 200 of them, analyzing their experiences on the Eastern Front. They essentially wanted to download the Wehrmacht's brain.
This creates a sort of fascination with the German way of war inside the U.S. officer corps.
A Wehrmacht mystique, absolutely. But it takes a while to filter into actual doctrine. First, in the 70s, you get this thing called active defense. It was very focused on attrition, on using superior firepower to blunt a Soviet attack.
But a lot of officers weren't happy with it.
No, they hated it. It felt passive. It surrendered the initiative. It was about waiting to get hit. So a new generation of thinkers, guys like General Don Starry at Schradock, they look back again at the German model from 1940.
At the offensive spirit.
The offensive spirit. And they develop what becomes known as AirLand Battle in the early 1980s. This, right here, is the American Blitzkrieg.
What were the core ideas?
Initiative, agility, attacking the enemy in depth. It was about synchronization. Don't just fight the enemy in front of you. Use your air power to hit their reinforcements, their artillery, their command centers, deep in the rear before they can even get to the battle.
So it's the Schwerpunkt and the Kesselschlacht all over again, but with Apaches and A-10s instead of Stukas.
It is. I mean, if you read the field manuals from that time, it's all there. It's the philosophy of Truppenführung translated into American English, and they spend a decade practicing it.
Until 1991. The Soviet Union is gone, but Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait, and this becomes the test case.
Operation Desert Storm. And if you look at the plan, it is the most perfect execution of Blitzkrieg in history. Ironically, done by the Americans.
So walk me through it. How does it mirror France 1940?
Well, you have the Iraqi army, which is huge, dug in along the Saudi border. They're expecting a frontal assault. That's your Maginot Line.
Okay.
General Schwarzkopf then does what Guderian did.
Yeah.
He executes the famous left hook. He sends the Marines to make a lot of noise at the front to fix the Iraqis in place.
That's a distraction.
The distraction. While the main force, the entire U.S. 7th Corps, swings way out west, hundreds of miles into the desert terrain the Iraqis thought was impassable for such a large army.
Just like the Ardennes.
The modern Ardennes. And then they hook behind the Iraqi Republican Guard and annihilate them from the rear. And the air campaign, the AirLand part, had already destroyed the Iraqi ability to see or communicate.
Their decision cycle was shattered before the ground war even began.
Completely. The whole ground war was over in 100 hours. The Iraqi army was paralyzed, just like the French 50 years earlier. The U.S. had spent 40 years studying their old enemy to defeat their new enemy, and they finally used the lessons to crush Saddam's army.
It's an incredible full-circle story. From the trenches of WWI to the radios of 1940, all the way to the GPS and thermal sites in the Kuwaiti desert.
And it all comes back to that one core concept. It's not about who has the most tanks. It's about who has the fastest decision cycle. He who can observe, decide, and act the quickest wins.
Blitzkrieg was never just about speed. It was about the speed of thought.
That's the ultimate lesson. It was never a weapon. It was a state of mind.
A perfect place to end it. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure.
If viewers enjoyed the video, they can subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell to be notified about new videos, click the like button, and share the video with their colleagues, as this helps us maintain the channel. Thank you.